When I say the word filmmaker, what comes to mind?
Storytelling. People that wants to make an impact, and people that wants to walk with the elephants. People going to I look at filmmaking as a industry that, for the artists, for the people that wants to tell stories, they want to leave a legacy. And the people, I think about filmmaking as people that wants to be in with a community that just wants to be a part of something, to belong.
Walk with the elephants?
Yeah.
What is that?
Walking with the celebrities and the red carpets, the hooplas.
Oh, the giants.
The
Okay.
giants.
Oh,
That's how I look
okay.
at it, yeah.
Okay.
It's a noble industry. That's how I kind of look at it. Yeah, but where it's not a, it's like kind of, I'm a filmmaker, and they kind of lift this up. Oh, hi, I'm a filmmaker, right? That's how I kind of think about it. When I think about that. But when it comes to, for me, it's about impact.
When I say the word entrepreneur, what comes to mind?
Troubleshooting, solving problems. That's it, solving problems. I think it's about empowering people to want to make a change in the industry and impact people's lives, same thing, and to be able to, I would say, to move the generations forward.
Can you survive as a filmmaker if you're not an entrepreneur?
Good question. Yes, if your content is good, and yes, if your content is good, yes, and if you are in a place in the place of good timing to be able to have good business people around you. If not, then no. If not, then no.
Is that the old adage, like you're only as good as the brightest one in your company or something like that? I don't even know if that's the
or
same.
maybe you're as good as your last film, or look, I think anything that's creative is subjective, and it's very difficult. And I think that in the creative world, I think that it's I think that people don't value the art form, don't value art as much as other industries, right? And I think that it's not tangible in a way where people say, "Oh my God, it's something that is so, it's an everyday job." People don't look at it that way. That's why films are scarce. That's why films are rare. The good ones are, and people are not willing to pay for the bad ones, right? So that's why it's hard for filmmakers, in my opinion.
Do you enjoy a challenge? Do you rise to the occasion if somebody says you can't do something?
I do. When my back's against the wall, I would say that that's when I excel. I did it for all my films, and I did it in my entrepreneurship journey. I'm not here to talk about my background, but I'm a refugee immigrant from Vietnam, and I grew up with my back on the wall all the time, and it's always been challenging. So I don't think it's a matter of people telling me that I can't do it. I think it's a matter of just the nature of the job itself, and not wanting to disappoint people that believes in you is the challenging part.
You think normal things don't scare you? So you're ready to...
No, normal things scares me. I'm scared of heights, and I think it's complacency scares me. Mm-hmm.
Your passion is storytelling before building a business, entrepreneurship?
Baseball.
Oh, baseball. Okay. Okay. So baseball and then storytelling?
Then music.
Then music, right? Music videos.
No, musician. I was a record producer and a songwriter.
Oh, and you went to Juilliard, right?
I went to Juilliard for music, and then and then filmmaking because I didn't make it in music, but I thought that I thought filmmaking was a better medium than music, so I got into that.
You said you didn't make it in music. What is making it?
I would say like defining it would be like getting a hit record, making it as getting a hit record, being able to have millions of people across the world be able to listen to the music and use that as a platform to create change. That's how I defined it.
Who did you want to be like?
Michael Jackson. Okay. At least the what I wanted to see the music to affect. Yeah.
And at what point did you realize it would either be a harder road than you thought, or it wasn't a challenge you wanted to take on?
No, I just saw that the business got harder. With the whole streaming, the craziness of people just kind of, in our industry was backstabbing people. Nobody's honoring contracts. At least that's what I experienced. And then people want to take advantage of you over and over and over. I just kind of had enough with that. And I put it on pause. And my thought process was just like, if I ever had a chance to come back in the game, I'm going to flip this industry upside down. And I want to be able to do it right and really expose the problems and then have a solution for it. And that was my mindset so I put it on pause. I didn't give up on it. I just put it on pause. And then going into the film industry, I thought it was more structured, with like more ethical people, at least on this filmmaking side of things. It was more ethical people. There was more structure. There was more processes. And if you understood that, and then you understood the business, I thought there was a better chance in making the film industry than the music industry.
How does a filmmaker's vision compare to that of an entrepreneur?
They go hand in hand. I think just to backtrack. I think your career and your life is defined by your purpose and how you want. And so everything I do, from music to films to entrepreneurship, all leads back into wanting to impact people's lives for the better, right? However you do it. I want to do it at scale, but it actually does feel good when you do impact people's lives in general. And so when it comes to filmmaking, it was a way to scale the communications. It's like, I look at filmmaking as like the commercial way of scaling of an operation. And entrepreneurship was like the vehicle to be able to understand how to problem solve and take business and then still go through the same thing of solving problems. So they all go hand in hand to me. And I think that it's I think for other people, for other people, they think of filmmaking as filmmaking. It's like kind of they pocket themselves, right? For me, I look at the whole entire picture, and I happen to be in filmmaking. I happen to be an entrepreneur because my goal is to update, innovate industries that I think are problematic for the things that we're passionate about.
So if you took your favorite entrepreneur, I'm not sure who that was.
Steve Jobs.
Okay, good choice. And your favorite filmmaker?
Steven Spielberg.
Okay, great choice. And do you think they have similar, similar makeups?
They do.
Okay.
Both are innovative, very innovative. Steven Spielberg changed the game with his creative and innovations of films and how he takes it to new levels and storytelling to a different level. Storytelling is pretty much structured very similarly a lot of times, right? But how he, I look at him as like the person that knows how to tell stories to kids, and he's able to he's able to create these fandoms and build this innovative, I would call it innovative structure that allowed people to be inspired to make films at, not at his level, but be inspired to do films, that want to do films. And I look at Steve Jobs as this innovative guy that's in technology that knows how to target the kids, right? And be able to create this luxury good for people to change the world with. And I kind of look at it the same way.
How would you compare risk-taking between filmmaking and entrepreneurship?
Risk-taking, oh my gosh. I think filmmaking is a complete risk, and I think entrepreneurship is a complete risk. I think they both have to, there's no guarantees for any of that. I think entrepreneurship might be a little bit safer than filmmaking. I think filmmaking is one of the, if not the biggest risk of them all, right? Because you spend your years trying to make a film, raising funds, creating the scripts, onboarding people, hoping people will stay, employing if you have the money for it, and then you put the product out, and then it could get screwed, right? And people don't like it, no one wants to buy it. Entrepreneurship is the same thing, right? It's kind of like, you spend maybe years or maybe months, or whatever it is, developing the product, putting a team together, structure processes, and raising money to launch it, and you put it out there and it doesn't happen. So they're both risky. But I feel like filmmaking is just a harder medium because it's creative, it's subjective, and entrepreneurship is, you could be building a lemonade stands, you could be selling jewelry, you could sell whatever it is you want, but it's the same mechanism, and it's not as direct. It's not like filmmakers are, well, some are, but majority is not. Filmmakers not going from B to C. It's usually go to B to B with a distributor or sales agent, wherever it is, that communicates to the C levels, right? To the consumers. In the entrepreneurship world, you're either straight B to B, which is contracts, procurements, and then you have you're going straight to like a retail store, going straight to a B2C base. And so I think it's, they're both risky, but yeah, I think that filmmaking is far more riskier than anything.
Do you think there's the perception, though, that being an entrepreneur is a safer route in that it's business, so it's seen as something that's, you're going to have a widget that you're going to sell or a service, whereas filmmaking is not, but it's actually an illusion? They're both equally risky? Because you can fail, you can have a great product, it can sit on the shelf, no one wants it, now you've bought all this stock, a bigger fish can come along?
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of entrepreneurship you're doing, right? Let's say entrepreneurship lane, you could be the entrepreneurship but entrepreneurship is not all created equally. I think entrepreneurship is, if you're a business owner, you're a business owner. Doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur actually solves problems. The ones that want to move the needle forward, maybe possibly want to change the world, maybe not at the scale of Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, but you still want to solve industry problems, and you get into it because of that. Now, some want to have a title of entrepreneur, right? But then you got business owners that might run a franchise, and they're not entrepreneurs, they're just franchise owners that just wants to have some sort of passive income, and they have no intention of changing the world or wanting to make any impact. And I think that there's a clear difference. Filmmaker, in a filmmaking world, I think that you got storytellers that want to tell the stories because they're having fun telling stories, and they want to hopefully have people hear their stories for whatever reason, right? And there's multiple reasons for that. And then there's filmmakers that want to just be a part of a community, and that's really it, And I got plenty of those people. I would say 99% of my employees all were filmmakers, but they don't want to be filmmakers because they don't work towards wanting a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? And I think that wanting to be a filmmaker also means you have to be an entrepreneur to run it.
How did your parents risk their lives for you and your brother?
Well, they're from Vietnam. So 1975 was communism, and so my background is that, my family's background, we were rich people, like Crazy Rich Asians. You saw the movie? We were like that in Vietnam. And within that conversion in 1975, everyone went to zero. So my parents had told me that it was like a 50-50 or even 60-40 chance of dying to get us into a different country. So we traveled by the boat, right? And pirates and plundering and, murders happened while I'm in the stomach of my mom. And so, so their goal was to ensure that we were secured, my brother and I, and that they felt at the time there was no hope in Vietnam, and so they did everything they can. They said they would rather die, all of us die, than to suffer in Vietnam in feeling that we were going to be imprisoned.
And so you traveled to the U.S. and you landed where?
So I was born in Thailand. So we went to Thailand and then and then 6 months later I came to America. But during that time, my mom had post-traumatic stress and even developed a slight schizophrenia. And then later on, the people took us into a foster care. So I was with foster care. My second parents were Irish and Italian. And that's where I learned how to play the piano. I learned American cultures do that. I learned a lot of type of stuff. And so that was my upbringing. And then my parents so think about this. We came from going into the country with no money, going into a family that had a lot of money, and then about 2 years later, go back to a family back into the ghetto, only to survive again, learn how to survive. And we went from being, my foster parents are very loving people, right? And then going back to home in Jersey City, and it was really, really bad back there. It's one of the worst cities in America. It's my parents were working 12-hour days, so I don't even get to see my parents at all. That's my life. That's my brother and I upbringing.
How long were you, I guess, was it called a ward of the court, or you were with these foster parents?
Yeah, they were foster until my mom got better. They had to show proof that my mom had to have the papers saying that she's good. As long as she's on the pills, which she's still on today. She has to be on pills so she suppresses her anger on things.
So you were there a year, 6 months? Or?
Oh, for my foster parents? Mm-hmm. I was there for about almost 2 years.
2 years, wow,
yeah,
okay.
Without my parents, yeah.
And then once they were in Jersey City, then you went back to live with them, and now you're getting acclimated to New Jersey life?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah. I mean, my brother has a worse story because he experienced racism, right? And his story was, he would get chased by the white folks when he was in the privileged neighborhood, and then he comes over here, he gets minorities everyone is a minority in Jersey City, but we're all racist to each other. Sure. And that was but that, like in high school where it was a fight every day, a stabbing once a week, and a shooting once a month. No news, no media. That's the norm. And that's the school I went to. So that's just put it in perspective.
And so was there a time where you were in high school where you said, I don't want to stay here? I want to leave?
I didn't know there was another life. The most I've seen was TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never went into, the most I went is going to New York City and Jersey life. And then that life in foster care was so like a blur to me that I don't remember, because I was just such a baby when I was back there. And so I thought that my life was going to be that, always living in danger all the time.
How often do you think about those early stages in your life, and then what feelings are attached to those memories?
I think about it every day. I got 2 kids, and I think of how privileged they are, and I think it's the thing that fuels me. I still work 12 to 14 hours a day, Why? It's because of those memories. It's being able to have, it's my parents. I think about my parents giving us the shot at life. And for some reason, I received all these gifts, abilities and capabilities that I have in my pinky than most people. I do know that, you know, technologically, business-wise, music and everything else. And I feel like it was not given to me by an accident. It was given to me for a reason. And I feel like I put a lot of weight on my shoulder to go ahead and try to make the most out of it. And I always feel this way. I feel like if you know how to do it, if you have a feeling that you could solve something, then you better do it. Otherwise, this universe is going to take it away from you.
And your brother is where?
My brother is, he lives in Jersey, in central Jersey. And he's a software developer, but nothing like me at all, zero. You know, he's a programmer. like no sports, not into sports, not into music, not into films, nothing like that. But he's very supportive. He's a protective brother. Yeah.
What would you say is the best thing, or some of the best things that came from humble beginnings?
Understanding how to build something from scratch, from nothing. I think that is a gift. I think that you get perspective around not judging people, no matter where they come from. You try not to judge them, at least, or you consider, if you think something wrong, you might think something else around, like, okay, there's a reason why they stole something at the store. You know, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. They're just able to survive. So I think of it that way. I look at it as, you know, career speaking wise for me, I look at it as it's because I came from nothing, I was forced to solve problems from, you know, like, you know, take, you know, I guess it's, you could give me anything that, and I'm able to figure out how to solve it. And that's what it was. Like, it's like kind of like your, you know, it's, I don't know, I would say like any problems, we had so many problems and so many adversity in life that money was not the answer because we didn't have any. So you figure out how to solve it. And you figure out how to do it efficiently, you figure out how to do it with other people, collaboratively with people. And then you figure out how to do it again. And I feel like how that affected me for today was, well, I mean, it's how I created 4 feature films, built 3 businesses at the moment, and you know, and be able to survive through it and be able to come out something that's almost what people would consider almost impossible to you know, to see through.
So it made you resourceful.
Oh, 100% makes it resourceful, yeah.
You think it also, you weren't as afraid of risk?
I'm always afraid of risk. Always afraid of risk. I'm more afraid of disappointment from the risk. You know, like I think just naturally, I don't want my parents just being disappointed in me. I don't want my friends disappointed in me. I think that it's this, you know, like, unlike someone like Gary Vee or someone would say, don't think, who cares what people think about you? I'm the complete opposite, where I care what the people that love me think about me. And because they work so hard to get me to a place to get to me to a place to have certain opportunities, and I was to kind of squander that, then it's almost selfish of me that I look out for them. That's how I kind of look at it. Even though they might not be thinking that, but my mind always goes to that for some reason. And it keeps me fired up.
What do you think about the term starving artist?
I think what I think about it, I think every creative is gonna go through adversity and not have any way to sustain themselves. That's how I think about it. That a starving artist is someone that's so passionate about what they are willing to do everything they can to make their art form work, and they're willing to die for it. That's how I kind of think of it.
Have you seen this in yourself?
Oh yeah. For me, I was 19 years old when I hurt my arm from baseball, I decided to go into music. And I worked a 9-to-5 job. It really was like a 9 to 7 job. That's what it felt like to me. And then from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm making music. I'm producing the record, writing the song, and we're figuring out how to engineer to make the best sound. 7 days a week. My vacations were all about the music, and I would always fund my music through the job that I had. So I'm not a starving artist because I had a job, but I killed myself to be the best I can be in doing it. Now I look at me being really lucky to have a corporate job that could do that and had the flexibility for that. And I look at artists that don't have that capability. They don't have the technology background. They're just not wired that way. They're just extremely creative, extremely talented, music, art, wherever it is, and they can't function another way. And they are doing that 16, 18 hours a day. And they're willing to just eat peanuts just to make a living, just to do that. And I think that's what a starving artist is, and that's one of the reasons why I want to fix, and not me, but personally, I want to bring a community in to help flip that world upside down, so they don't become starving artists. And I think those are probably the ones that are the ones that can enlighten people.
And you said there was a lot of predatory tactics in the music industry. Do you think because you had a day job, you didn't give off the desperation? Because a lot of predators, they sense desperation and they usually go after people that they know are weak and that can't fight back. You think that you kind of were able to deflect some of that because you had this job?
No, I was desperate too, because you go so much, I'm working like crazy on it. I had that same feeling of desperation, and I signed bad contracts too. And I remember myself just yelling on the phone, to get myself out of the contract because they screwed me. And then eventually I did get out of it, luckily. But but I've been screwed so many times in the music industry. So because I was an idiot taking on something because I was desperate for.
So even though you had you were able to pay the rent, so to speak, you still got.
Oh yeah.
There were still sharks. Okay.
There were so many sharks for that. Yep.
So you decided to leave, and
put on pause.
Put it on pause. That's right.
Put
on pause. Yeah. Okay. So it was on pause. And do you think that the most talented artists are the most successful?
Well, let's define success. Success to me is being happy and in what you're doing. If the artist is living in a garage, but still happy where they're living, I would look at that as a successful artist. And so to me that's really just it's success is a personal question.
Why do you think so many artists struggle financially despite their talent?
First of all, I think the medium is the medium, right? It's the music, the films, it's anything that's creative. Outside people don't value it like that, even though they use it every day, right? They, from anything they see visually to the things that they listen to. They listen to the music that helps them program their thing or help them do their homework, but they don't want to pay for it. And so if the consumers don't pay for it, that means that the artists are not going to be as valued as they should be. But that's why they call it a business. It's not just music, it's not just film. It is a film business, it is a music business. And most artists have no interest in business at all. Who wants to actually go into QuickBooks or spreadsheets and make updates to a client for a CRM system? Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do it. They want to go in there, make music, be emotional about it, tell a story, go to sleep. And that's what they want to do for a living. I get it. I was that guy too. But if you want to survive in the financial world, and that's another game, then you got to be good at business. And if you're not good at it, then I don't know what to tell you. I think it goes hand in hand if you want to survive in that game financially.
Plus, I think too, it helps someone not be taken advantage of. If they just blindly turn everything over to someone, I've heard horror stories of all sorts of stuff happening where they weren't aware. But if you ask questions and you are aware of sort of accounting and different things, then
yes,
you're less likely.
Yes, I think that you'll be less taken advantage of. However, business people take advantage of each other too. And so it's not about understanding about the business, it's about leverage. Like if you're an artist that has the hit song or hit film, wherever it is, and then you get all these distributors and agents wanting to go after you, they're in advantage, and they could take advantage of the business people because of that. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that being taken advantage is all about leverage. It's not about knowing more business or what it is. If you're a great artist, if you're in demand, if you're like Whitney Houston, right? Or you're like Mariah Carey or Ariana Grande, they don't need to know anything about business, but they could take advantage of the business people. That's how I kind of look at it. Because they got the goods, because they're the ones that are going to make $1 billion for these people. And those people will be desperate for those type of artists that don't come around often.
Why is it that artists lack business skills?
Because business is boring. It's like a oxymoron, right? It's a complete opposite of their nature. Artists is creative, it's a different brain, and business is a different brain. For me speaking, I never wanted to touch a spreadsheet, or even though I'm Asian, I actually suck at math, okay? And so, and business is math, and it's negotiations, it's being able to talk almost sometimes non-transparently in order to get a deal done. It's a game, it's a war. It's still creative in that sense, but it's not. But in the art, in making music or films, there's nothing. I mean, you're writing a script. You're telling a story. There's no business interaction. It's so much more fun, right? You get to be emotional with it. Business is business, and from my experience, that some artists try to be business people and they just can't be one, and they just don't practice it enough.
Do you think all artists deserve to be paid for their work?
100%. I believe that artists need any great artist that deserves that is recognized for their talents should absolutely be doing it for a living. There's no reason they should be a painter when they could move a 50,000 people crowd as a musician. There's no reason for that. If you're a filmmaker that's another Quentin Tarantino storyteller that could impact the world, there's no reason that should be waiting tables when they could be changing the world another way. So the artist needs to survive, and they need to be able to sustain themselves. So yeah, And we want to see those people out there, right? To do that and inspire people.
What are some strategies that artists can use to increase their visibility and success?
Are we talking about task or are we talking about strategies?
Strategies. And what's the difference, by the way?
So the strategy is coming up with like the chess moves, thinking 20 steps ahead of where you want to go to or your competition, wherever it is, to get there. The task is how to execute them. And they're completely different. And so each, let's just say that, it's, so your strategy is, and I could talk a lot about that because I had a strategy of how I got my first movie. It wasn't a lucky for me, it was a strategy of what I did. And I planted those seeds for years to get to the place of getting my first feature film gig. Not the perfect gig, but I got it. And it created about thousands of different micro tasks to get there. I could talk more specifically if you want me to.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
So my first feature was Walt Before Mickey. Right? It was the four big stars was John Heder, Jodie Sweetin, David Henry, and Thomas Nicholas. Right? And there is absolutely zero reason for me to take on that director role. There were way more people qualified than I. The most I've done was a short film that won at this small music festival in New York City. I did a few music videos, and I had a wedding company. Nothing in there says I should be doing a feature film with those type of people about Walt Disney and one of the more American movies that you can make. And so, but I didn't sell myself as that director. I sold myself as a director that had this capability to that the producers need. The situation is that there was another director that got fired, right? And I was in a position where I had branded myself in a way where that I could almost fix anything. I'm a troubleshooter. I built the business from $0 to $500,000 in a year, right? I was that type of guy. And my peers, my filmmaking peers, all knew I could do that. So because I knew they knew that, I was gonna be in the first in line to know that I was gonna be asked when they needed help with something. So that call came in saying, Khoa, there's an opportunity for you. It's about shooting a movie about Walt Disney. And I go, what's the catch? Because there's no reason to ask me. I said, what's the catch? They go, the catch is that you have to come down here in in 2 weeks. And you have to be able to start shooting in 2 weeks after that. So within 30 days, you have to start shooting. And the crew's demoralized, is underfunded, and then they also might be running out of money for any post-production. So why would anyone take on that gig? Everyone would say no to that gig, right? Why would anyone do that? But for me, it was positioning. Because I knew that, first of all, I knew that I would get those type of opportunities just because I just knew that's how it was going to happen. But I also knew that if I was able to fix this movie, I was going to get more opportunities. So I said, look, I told the producers, I'll do the directing gig for $2,500. It's only a 15-day shoot, by the way, 1920p for 15-day shoot. And I will take on all the post-production. I want all the coloring, all the editing, deliverable, and I will also pay for the sound mix and the music. I will complete it for you. Of course he's gonna say yes. Of course I'm gonna say yes. Everyone's gonna say yes to me on that one. So that was a chess move for me because I knew that was an opportunity for me to take on the right opportunity. Now, if it was a different movie, not about Walt Disney, I would have said no because why waste my energy, why waste my time for that? But because it was the right project, it was the one that Walt Disney, I knew they were gonna sell that movie. I saw that Facebook had 1 million followers already. I saw that it had these stars in place and they had, I would say 99% of the crew was more experienced than me. And the only thing that could have stopped me was myself saying no because I was too scared because I wasn't ready. But I felt like I was ready to tell a feature film story, and I felt like I felt like this was the opportunity that was gonna move my businesses forward and get me to the next stage of where I wanted to be. So I took the gig, and within long story short, within about 2 weeks after going to market, it got sold domestically, it got sold internationally. It was in Disney for 12 weeks, sold out for four weeks straight at Disney World, right? It was in AMC, maybe 80 something theaters in AMC. It got picked up by Netflix after it tested the market. It was in Netflix for 4 years, and it's still today. It's still seen. It had tons of views, millions of views on it. It's not the best movie, for certainly it's not the best movie at all. And I could tell you about how that. I could tell you why it is not. But but that was a strategy, and that was a very tactical strategy I did. So strategy into the task. That's the long answer.
So many questions here. How many weddings had you done before you stepped on set?
We've done 300.
Before, when you took that position? Okay, 300. So you'd been in high pressure. I'm sure there's great weddings, and then I'm sure there's ones that are stressful, whatever. Maybe the venue's bad or there's rain or something. Mm-hmm. So you'd already been in a pressure cooker sort of environment. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Right, as someone who's worked weddings before.
But not just that, it was the pressure cooker in music as well. Deadlines, the album needs to get wrapped up. You're doing a song a day, writers coming in and out, people are paying me to get things done, blah blah blah. So pressure has always been there. My college days was all pressure too, and so it's like, but the wedding for sure helped. But at the time when I took on the gig, I wasn't even shooting weddings. I had my team shooting weddings a lot, so it was more about how do I command an 80 people set. Think about it. There's a lot of videographers out there, but it doesn't mean they could command an 80 people set. For me, I was in a position to command that just because of me playing baseball, me playing in the music game, and then I'm also in the gaming world.
Now you said that the crew was, quote, demoralized.
Yeah.
How did you come in and infuse new life?
I don't want to, I had a speech with them, and I had told them that, look, I'm this new filmmaker, and that you might think of me as this guy that's so new that might not know what they're doing, but I want you to just treat me with respect in the very beginning, and just allow me to prove myself to you, being really transparent to them, and that you guys, and I also talked to them saying that you guys wouldn't be here if you didn't believe in the project, and we'll all want to move things forward as well. So let me do that. And if you think if I could prove to you that I could build that confidence for you to believe in me, then I need you to help me finish that movie. Another thing, so that's just talk. Now everything is action at that point. And so after the first week of the shoot, the producers and the actors took a private jet to Miami. I was asked to go, and I didn't go. Instead, I took the crew out to dinner, and I was the one that paid for dinner. And I think that was the saving grace for the film, because the crew had issues with production. And look, the production team was very new. Like, producers were new, and I respect the producers a lot, right? But they were new. And for me, I come from that background of understanding how to take care of people. And I knew that I didn't come here to waste my time, and I want to bring home a film. And so in order to do that, I got to ensure that my crew is on board. They were, just like in baseball, I want to make my coach proud. I'm the coach of that film crew, and I wanted them to look at me as somebody that they want to be, that I could be proud of them, right? And I think establishing that environment was based on my actions. And the first thing I did was, I'm the first one in on the set. I'm the last one off the set with the PA until he wraps. And I do that 7 days a week, no matter what. I'm always just working, looking out for everybody. And then proving it, topping it off is taking out to dinner and connect with them like human beings, And then, and so one of the grips, he used to work on the Fast and Furious, at the time Fast and Furious 6, he says, "Khoa, my guys are working their tail off for you. I never seen them work that much for you. And what you said to them resonated. And I just want to just give you a hug. And it's not every day we see that, because usually in film environments, it's a very toxic environment sometimes, at least what they're experiencing. And so you seem to make this thing real fun for us and want to hang out in." And I go, I hope I could do that. But it's not all the time like that, because, there's a lot of other issues around it. But when they're around me, they know that they could trust me and that I got their backs. And as long as they understand that I got their backs, they'll do everything to protect me.
That's great. So you came in and you were very transparent, and then you also backed it up. It wasn't just talk. You showed them that I'm kind of looking out for your best interests as well. You took them out to dinner. You were human with them, and it righted the ship.
Yeah, and that's tactical stuff. They have to also believe in my skill set, my talent too, right? And so one of the first things that to prove that they could trust me, that I'm going to take care of them and move this project forward, was that they had to know that I knew what the heck I was doing on the set. So, I remember the first day, we were 3 hours late because makeup artists and costume was late. And so my whole entire storyboard was out the door because my timing was all off now. And so I said, all right, we're going to do this, and we're going to have to change everything up, and let's just make it happen. And so I reversed, your typical way of doing it, your master to your, then to your medium, to your close-ups, and you have your structure. Instead, I went the opposite way. I said, look, we're going to start with tights and get to the emotional moment, and then we'll finish up with the master, and we're going to wrap that part up we're going to do it in this 3 takes, and we're going to save you guys all this time. Did that, and everyone was like floored by how we executed. And right from there, it was like, okay, business as usual. They were able to trust that I was able to execute. So it was these pockets of moments where people, which just humans, just test you to see if they're sizing you up and down all the time, and they're trying to figure out, can I trust him? So every single minute, every hour had to be me proving to that crew that I'm trustworthy to be able to take this film to the next level. And I think and that's going back to it. That's a strategy. Those are strategies, because if you are thinking, if you're in the wrong mindset, if you're thinking about it's about my film, they work for me, blah blah, it would have failed right from the first day.
And then lastly, you talked about doing post and paying for different things. You had that team in place? Okay, great.
That's infrastructure building. So people think like, what's this wedding videographer doing on the set? Like, it was like almost sounds embarrassing, right? But it turns out that if I didn't have that in place, we wouldn't have a finished film, because I have my employees, I was paying them, and health insurance, I have an infrastructure. And the idea, my mindset since 2009 was to build a team that could support the opportunities. The opportunity rised, and I was able to support it. That's not an accident. I just knew that was the leverage. And I knew that was how I could get in. So because I know tons of people in the film industry, and they work from PA to assistant director, blah, 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 and never get those directing opportunities or even producing opportunities. And they said, and I get this call still today, they say, "Khoa, how the heck are you doing these films? Why are you getting these opportunities? We've been in this industry, we can't even get these opportunities to do anything. We can't even get a budget to do that. How are you doing that?" It's like, it's like kind of like you have to. I said, well, it's hard. How do I explain that, right? I'm explaining it to you that it started from this ground up, but they don't understand that because they're not business people. So for me, it was a mix of business and creativity.
It sounds like you always look at the big picture of everything you take on first.
Always, always. I look at it as I look at utopia. I look at building utopia. I look at what is the perfect world before I'm dead. What do I want to see? I want to wake up one day and I want to know that I want to be the parent that says, you know what, you might not think about being a doctor here. You might want to be a writer because I think it'd be a better career for you. I want that to happen. I mean, that's almost like no parent's ever gonna say that to their kid. But I do hope that one day that you say, you know what, maybe you should be a singer or a bass player because you're gonna be so much better off being in that career than being an architect or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to decide that. And so I look at that picture and I do see it happening. Some people can't see that part happening. I do see it happening. And I have this 25, 30-year strategy that's going to get us there as an industry as a whole. At least I started it or something.
So strategies, but then the mini tasks that it takes to implement.
It's like 100,000 micro tasks to finish one task. That's what it feels like. One thing at a time. Yeah.
If you are interested in storytelling, you may also like our new book, Story Questions. It's a story tool that offers you over 1,500 story questions that you can use as story prompts. It's packed with over 40 categories, so whether you are in the brainstorming stages, developing characters, dialogue, or rewriting, it can help you at every stage of the writing process. Think about this statement. Most powerful stories are just great answers to strong questions. We've linked up to story questions in the information section below. How many day jobs have you had in your life?
I had 3 at the same time. I've had maybe, I would say 6 day jobs so far. 3 at the same time and then one after another. I was retail, data entry, computer, a technician, and beer runner, security guard, small person, nonprofit raising money, and then worked most of my life, my 9-to-5 job at Ernst & Young, EY at the time, as a computer fixer. Fixed computers and moved my way up into engineering, network engineering, analysis, and then went into communications and brand and marketing. And while running my side hustle.
What's wrong with having a high-paying, secure job?
What's wrong? What's wrong would be that you don't get to put all the time into the things that you want to do. Right? Like, I want to be a full-time filmmaker, but I got my business to run, or you have your 9-to-5 job to make ends meet. Is that something wrong, or is that just real life? I don't know. I struggle with that question sometimes because I think that, ideally you want to do what you love to do, but you still got to take out the trash, right? And the trash might be the job, right? But however, the reason why you get to do what you love to do is because of the job. And so you can't trash on the job because, you get to do that. So it's kind of like, is that privileged? Is that like being spoiled? Like in the Buddhist world, it's not about, it's, you live to eat. No, I mean, you eat to live, not the other way around. You don't live to eat. So you survive is about survival. And for us, my survival is about, for me, what I feel like why I'm here, why I'm given a lot of gifts in life is to really help people and be impactful. And otherwise, I don't understand why I have these certain capabilities that is very difficult for people to have, And so for me, I think it's given to me to. The obvious thing is to help people.
Did you notice that when you were a kid?
Yeah.
That you had these unique The
I
ability
did. I knew what I wanted to do when I was like 12 years old. And I went in this place of how do I build value? You know, where do I go to build value? So I started doing with piano, being being good at the piano. Okay, I'm sure if I was good at something like that, something's gonna happen, right? Okay, let me be good in sports, you know, like community and stuff. If I was good in that, maybe something's gonna happen. And then as I would get older, I was always looking for the thing that was going to be impactful. And I just stuck to music. I don't know why. I stuck to creative formats. And yeah, I was never confused of what in life, like what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do something that was impactful and it was in a creative format.
So you were 12, you were living in New Jersey,
Yep.
and you knew there was a different life for you. And
100%. You know, me being Asian, you know, my parents, we're Asian family. And so we are about trying to please our parents. That's our culture. And when I went to apply for college, I went to Rutgers University. I only applied to one college. You know, most people apply multiple colleges in case they don't go in. I just had this hunch that, look, I'm gonna get into Rutgers, and then I'm gonna do my music major, and then I'm gonna get a computer job doing my music major because I just felt like you didn't need to have a computer degree to get a computer job.
so you, again, strategy. You knew that you saw the big picture. Okay.
Saw the big picture, so I just knew that if I needed to get a degree, that at least during that time, that a degree was valued, right? But they didn't care what kind of degree you got. They just wanted to know that you got through 4 years of college or 5 years of college. And then when you take on the job, the specialty, you're gonna learn the specialty at the job. So that's what I did. So I finished in music. It was easy for me. And got a computer job at an accounting firm. And it kind of worked out. It was just that thing, you know? It was weird.
This is Windows operating system they're working on? Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Windows 95 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you could do all that, and then are there patterns to computer engineering and working with computers that are similar to music, or no?
No, I wouldn't say there's any familiar. I think it was just, to me, it was just a job. You know, it was a job that I knew I could do well. I was just kind of wired for that, for the computer stuff. And then I knew that I wanted to do the music for the impact stuff, right? I knew that I wasn't gonna work my way up the ladder, like going to the music industry, and it was just a different way of thinking about it. I was, and kind of very similar to when I think about in films too. I was like, I didn't go to film school, and I will do my feature films.
And when did you leave your day job? When were you basically your own boss?
In 2013, the situation is this. In 2009, I had pivoted into the film industry. Did 3 short films in a single year. I did photography, did everything that was about film stuff, the requirement for films. I had the prerequisite of talking to artists already, which is like my actors, like being able to communicate. So I knew I had the skill sets for that. And then what I did is I went into the wedding industry because I saw an opportunity to have a lucrative business where I don't have to work in it. And so I went and built that business, and in 2013, we went from doing from 12 weddings to 80 weddings in a single year, to a point where I didn't have to be on the job anymore. So when I did that, when I knew that I could make money without having to work my 9-to-5 job, then somehow the film project came to my, just kind of jumped on my lap.
The Walt before Mickey.
Positioning.
Positioning, right.
Positioning.
When you quit your day job, did you leave room to come back? And how did you quit?
Okay, I'm gonna probably sell EY on this one. Ernst & Young, I'm gonna sell them on this. They are all for about people wanting to build a better career for themselves. That's why their slogan is about building a better working world. And they live to that. And so they knew I've always had my side hustle, my side businesses. So they always asked me about it. How's your business doing? Why I'm working for them. And so I had an office job, and as long as I did their job and being fair to them, they were going to respect me for that. But when it came to the point where I couldn't do the job anymore because I was getting so busy with my side business, I said, look, it's not fair to you guys. You guys been fair to me. I need to quit. They said, Khoa, you can't quit. I just gave you this high level position. I was an engineer webcaster for them at that time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just give you a contract. So then we'll pay you, but you could do your own thing full time. But when we need you, you're there for us. Okay, good deal, no problem. And that's how that happened. I would say, yeah. I mean, some people call it luck, but I call it positioning. You know, I positioned myself in a place where I was very invaluable to them. This is like this for the filmmakers. They need to understand how to build value. The directors are a dime a dozen, cinematographers are a dime a dozen, the positions are a dime a dozen. How do you be in a position where they cannot say no to you?
But do you think everybody has that in them? You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. So you can provide people instructions, but not everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But you have it in you.
I think everyone has it in them. I just think that they might not be honest with themselves. You know what I'm saying? I became an adjunct professor for another university, and I taught like 60 different students. And I would say 99% of them went to film school, but they had the idea of wanting to be a filmmaker, but they don't want to be a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they got a camera, but they're not making a film, trying to make a film every weekend. They're not working hard enough to win. You know what I'm saying? If I come from the background where the only reason why I was able to have these opportunities is because I worked my tail off for it. 18, 20-hour days. I'll go to work from 9 to 5, 9 to 6, eat for 30 minutes, work from 7 to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, do it 7 days a week. My vacations were 3 weeks of vacation were going to work in my business. I would never take a day off. I don't travel. I don't go to clubs. I don't party. I don't do any of that. It was a straight, whatever I was focused on, I would just do it. And it might not be directly to films, but it was leading to films. It was all about positioning and getting yourself in a place that I thought was work. Some might work, some might not work. But the fact that I was working towards my career for that, I don't see people doing that. If you really, really want it, you know, you do everything you can do everything you can to win. If you're not, you don't really want it. You know? I mean, I don't know how else to explain that to people. Like, can you work 18-hour days? Do you want enough to work 18-hour days? Can you do it without sleep? Can you do it when you just have to just knock on the floor and sleep on the floor? Is that what you're willing to do, right?
Why is life better when you're the boss?
I am a control freak. Life is better because you get to shape your future the way you see fit. I'm a Steve Jobs fan because he thinks like that too. He says when you can start seeing that you can start poking to the world and start shaping it the way you want to shape it, that you realize that humans are the one that created the rules. You're a human too, that you could create your own rules. Then you could create the rules that will shape to something that you want to see. Then you have to be the boss to do that. Being the boss allows you to have that type of control. And boss doesn't mean that you're bossing people. Boss means control for yourself.
If you had to start over and build a production company from scratch with the knowledge that you have now, how would you do it?
How would I do it? Let's from a strategic standpoint or from a task standpoint.
Okay, both, because I like how you're designating these two. It's good.
Both. From a strategy standpoint, I would definitely make sure that you are really clear what the outcome is going to be. Like, you want to know what you're trying to get to, and that clarity is so important because that's how you create your decision makings from the start, and that's how you know how to troubleshoot and figure things out because that part is so clear. Before, I wasn't so clear about it. Before, I just knew that I wanted to just impact, and that's just a loose term. But, if the more you actually narrow down to what that, I wouldn't say it's like an end goal, but almost something that almost feels impossible to achieve, but you know that that's what you want to see before you're dead. That's what you need to figure out right from the beginning of when you make the company, because you have to think about, why do you want to exist? Do you need does the world need another company? Does the world need another filmmaker? Does the world need another production company? Why do you want to compete? If you want to make money, go into a different industry. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of places that make money. That can't be the goal. So why are you going into production? Because you love it that much? Why do you love that? Why do you love production so much? That part has to be really clear. And it's a surprise to me that so many people are not clear. They just like to do it. Just to like to do it. But they're going to go into this Vanilla Ice pattern. Vanilla Ice has this #1 hip hop and everything, yeah, but it would never clear with it, and it went through a depression. People will go through that depression mode if you're not clear where you're at, with your business. And your business will more than likely falter. The ones that are really clear with that business, from my experience, from what I've seen, are the ones that actually could sustain their business for a long time. I've had my business for 18 years, and I built multiple businesses that's over 10 years now. And I did it without social media, 0 social media. So it was about clarity, and it was about, luckily I came to be clear about it when I was in 2012 when I was clear about it.
Going back to the Vanilla Ice theory, I love this theory. So Vanilla Ice, hit song back in early 90s, I think. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't hear from him for a while, and then he got into BMX biking, I think, didn't he?
That's right.
Okay.
So he was always into biking. He went back into it too because he was just going through a depression. And he went back into that because in that world, nobody was judging him.
Okay.
In the music world, people were judging. He would tell the story to us that, he would run this party and they would drop a $5,000 vase and it'd be like, "Oh, my bad, man, sorry." And he realizes something like that. It's like nobody really cared about him, and that's when he said that his weekend lasts for 3 years. And so he revived himself by going to the biking world, and where he, enjoyed and loved, and the people around him never judged him for that. And it kind of tells the story of that community and belonging really matters.
How much experience did you have when you started a production company?
I was 19 when I started my first production company, the music production company, and it failed. And I started a second one with another partner, and that failed. And so in 2005, I started another one, and I started in a production and technology company, and it almost failed. But what I did was I just kept the name, and I left it for 7 years. Like, I just kind of just had the company name, and people do that. Until I could figure out how to build a business. The only one that actually succeeded was the Kvibe in 2005, and that was from my experiences from failing the previous production companies.
So it wasn't just timing or luck or anything. It was because you learned all the things not to do. You had these strategies,
Yep.
and you knew the tasks.
Yeah, I certainly knew how to start a company. I certainly knew, and every time I did it, I always had to figure out how to build this business plan. And this long business plan of 30 to 50 pages does not work for me. I'm just not that type of guy. So what I did was I built another way of doing it. And I did it in boxes, like a storyboard. And my business plan was all in storyboards. When you look at it, it's like an org chart. So my strategies are all built like that, and all my tasks are built like boards. So I don't build my storyboards in pages anymore, and so that I learned that, and that helped me tremendously. So I would say, like, to anyone that is trying to start a business or is trying to start there, where it is, you got to find your own template that works for you. The template that's standard didn't work for me at all. If anything, it caused more headaches for me.
So aside from the template, there were other things, it seems like, that you knew, either don't do this, it's a waste of time, do more of this?
100%. But not just that, you know what it is? I think I put myself in a place to learn other people's mistakes. And I asked a lot of questions, tons of questions, like a documentary filmmaker would do. And I mean, there's nothing like going through it yourself, but going through the mistakes that they go through and being terrified with what they went through is enough for you to pivot your business to a place that could be very successful.
What do you think the core essentials are for starting a production company?
The core essentials would be your purpose. You got to have a purpose, number one. Like, it cannot be about money. That's number two. Those are rules for me. And it's got to be impactful. It's got to help something. It's got to solve a problem. Those are the three cores. After that, it's like, obviously your integrity, all the standard stuff that makes a good human being, right, are essentials to building to the business. But the people the most important thing is understanding your positioning, your purpose, and knowing that you are solving a problem. Filmmakers, relating it back to filmmakers, films have to solve a problem. You're solving a problem, whether you're doing comedy, you're doing a horror format, or you're doing a dramedy, wherever it is format. You're telling a story that's solving something that's going to help somebody.
How much money does it cost to start a production company?
Zero. Doesn't cost anything. Maybe, okay, $125 to incorporate, depending on what state you're in. You get EIN number. If you're in New Jersey, EIN number and those it costs you less than $200 to start it. To start a production company, nowadays you have a phone. You could start anything. I started with nothing. I started with a DSLR. With a DSLR with a lens and 85mm lens, and that's all I had, and a weak tripod.
Did it fall sometimes?
Yeah.
That's weak. Okay.
It did, and it wasn't even with a fluid head. It was like those photography tripods, and you can't even really pan with it. That was my first, and it was with the Canon. It was the Canon 5D Mark II, where you have to half the lens, so you get 20. So you get like 24 frames out of it. You couldn't do 24 frames out of it because it was the bug you had to work with. That was my first experience in production.
And how did you get to these weddings? How did you end up getting your first wedding?
Because I'm in the music industry, my friend is the DJ Valentino. He was the DJ for 103.5 for New York radio station, and he had his own side gig, which is weddings. And he had told me, Khoa, look, I'm in the weddings because they will never go away. I will always have a business. And I said, would you like to do one? Because one of my videographers left, and I said, no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do weddings. So that was my thing. He says, I'll pay you $750. All right, deal. Let's do it. I said, really? And then they go, sure. And then for a one-day gig, right? So I did it, and then I just saw how ludicrous that industry was. Just the insane, like how does this thing even function? And that's how I got into it. And I saw a problem, and I went to solve it.
Do you think when you're starting a production company, someone should focus on getting the right equipment or getting the right people to work for them?
You have to... Neither. None. Both. You have to be, again, you have to be in the right mindset. It's the first portion of it. Because if you're not going to get the right people to work with you. And if you focus on equipment, then, but then you didn't build it, you didn't build a structure to understand how to tell stories or where it is, then the equipment goes useless. I know tons of equipment collectors. I call them. They got millions of dollars of equipment, they got all this, and they can't even do anything with it because they don't know how to use it. I know tons of those type of people. And so that's not going to create any success. And I know people that know tons of people that don't know how to deploy them because they can't they can't use them for anything. Right? And so it starts with you. It starts with you understanding how to execute and create initiatives and having a purpose to doing that. It has to be that way. There's no other way of doing it.
What habits do you use every day for running your companies?
My day-to-day habits, work-related wise, would be that I go through my emails in the morning and I don't check them. I only check 2-3 times a day. That's all I do. I don't sit on my emails. Get rid of all the small tasks in the morning before lunch, and then all the creative stuff goes after lunch as much as I can. And then if I can't finish it, I got 2 kids. After I put them to sleep, I work to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to wrap them up. And then I rinse and repeat again. So all the micro and mundane and writing invoices and just business stuff, that goes in the beginning. And that's really important because you can't get that part done. They start stacking up on you.
So an unfinished task weighs you down?
Yeah, it annoys me. It's like a monkey on your back. It just can't get rid of. So what I do, another one is I use the Apple reminder and I just list them up. Now, another thing is that I always put the reminders in my calendar. And under one thing, so every time I open my calendar, I see it, I always have to click on it to see all the tasks. That's how I do it too.
What are your final thoughts to anyone thinking of starting a production company?
My final thoughts, again, I don't want to repeat myself, but it is just make sure you're starting with a purpose, that you're solving something that someone else cannot do, or solving something that there's a need for. Don't just start one because you're just starting one. And I would say it's, if you're gonna start one, do it right. Make sure that you're gonna try your best to run a proper business, not a business that's gonna hurt people. Because some people, I think one of the mistakes is that these artists or these filmmakers, they start a production company, but they don't have, I wouldn't say they don't have integrity, but they don't understand the business ethics, paying people on time, all those things, doing contracts properly, nickel and diming, working with trustworthy people, onboarding people, not taking advantage of their employees or contractors. Those are things that are really important. If you're gonna do it, then do it right, because if you do it right and pay your taxes, right? If you do it right, then you'll have a sustainable business, and that people are gonna want. Then you're doing something that a lot of people that don't do it right, and then you're solving that part of the problem too.
And when you talk about the why, this isn't just like a mission statement. This is like a personal why that maybe you don't even put in your business plan or on your website. This is your personal sort of reason that you don't really even need the world to know, but you know that's driving you?
My thoughts around that, it's just, it's my upbringing at the end of the day, right? I think you have to know, you have to go back to your core feelings of why you want to be in a space that's difficult. You have to know that. If you don't, then why be in it? If you're being, I want people to just know that, your personal why is core to your business. They're not separate. Personal and business is very personal. That's how I look at it. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're very successful ones too, and they separate emotions to their business, and they try to teach that. But for me, that doesn't work. And so my thing is that you're, especially in today's age, that work is 24/7. Your personal life is 24/7. You're integrating it. In the filmmaking world, it's not a 9-to-5 job, right? So I think you have to have a strong personal connection to why are you in a business or in an industry why are you in this industry that is, I think you have to be able to answer that question. Why are you in this industry at the end of the day? And I don't know. I think it's, I think your personal why is extremely important, that you have to tie into your business. It's not, I don't think it's an option.
Has anyone ever said to you, Khoa, it's not fair, like you do everything, it makes it look so easy, effortless, you know computers, you know music, you know this, it's not fair. Like you just, everything you do, you can just, you understand this grasp of it. I've been at it this many years and I can't do this. How are you doing this?
Yeah, I get that question a lot too.
And you're young. It's not fair.
You know what? I mean, I feel like that's why I call it gifts, right? I call it that. It was it's a capability that I have, that I'm able to absorb skills quickly and be able to manifest them into something that could work for my career, sure. But it was also sheer hard work. And I think people need to know that I don't know anyone that works harder than me. Like, I see them on TV, but I never met them in real life, and I never went head to head. But I know amongst all my friends, they had their fun times and drinking, playing, whatever they're doing. And I remember myself crying, saying that I just can't get this thing done. I've done it for 20 plus years. I look young. I'm 42 years old. I look young, but I started when I was 19 years old, working 4 to 5 o'clock. I don't remember getting an 8-hour sleep. Just think about it. I came here, red eye, right 9:45. Took me an hour and a half to get the car to come over here. I don't have my Airbnb. I'm outside putting my shirt on. Get my lunch at 12 o'clock. I'm timing myself minute to minute to get here on time, to be respectful of your time.
Thank you.
And I'm wired as if I drank like 10 bottles of Coke still. You know what I'm saying? I don't know anyone that's willing to do that. And I'll fly out tomorrow because time is precious for me. And so I didn't want to be here to hang out. I wanted to get here. I wanted to do I wanted to be in front of your camera and add value to your audience, and add value to the community. And that was a very strategic purpose for wanting to be here with you, and I think it's very important for me to, to be privileged to be on your platform, to be able to speak out loud about how I feel about it. That's worthy of coming out and doing all that to do that, and so it goes back to how much do you want it. If you really, really want it, you're gonna figure out how to do it, and I wouldn't be like me. You're gonna do it your way. Might be even doing it better than me.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have you. How easy is it for you to shut down your creativity?
Oh, that's easy. I play a game. It's called Clash Royale. I've been playing that for since it came out. So I just the way I shut everything down is I pull up a 2-minute game and I play it. And I play for 2 to 10 minutes a day. No, a day. Like it could be like every other hour I would play it.
So that's a way of kind of like getting you out of any problems, or it's just a diversion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't check my emails. I don't do any of that. I would just play a video game. That's the easy way of doing it. Yeah, that's been a tactic I've had since I was a kid. So I've always been a game player. I used to play mud games. You ever heard of mud games? They are text-based games. Think about like you heard of World of Warcraft? Just imagine that 3D world game like a Fortnite without graphics. That's the game I play.
So you're looking at the HTML version of the graphic?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, it's all text. It's called Dungeons and Dragons, D&D type of style, type of thing. And so I've always been a game player. So any of those type of games. Well, this one is like a mobile game I would play, but usually I would just play some sort of game that's quick. It gets to it finishes the game within like 2 minutes, and then I reset myself.
Can you go a week without being creative?
No, I can't. That's why I can't do vacations very well. I have to do something. Even on a plane I can't. Even on a plane I'm writing something. I'm thinking about some sort of process, or I'm thinking about how I'm gonna get the next funding for my film, or how I'm gonna position this film to be in a place of success, which is like another story.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have?
We did it for Vanilla Ice. We were doing his documentary, and he had this. It was called Ship Hop, and all the old school music people were there.
Okay, but that was work though.
That was work.
Okay, so you didn't go on a cruise, and you're not,
I haven't had a vacation. Okay. I don't think I ever had a real vacation.
They're expensive, so just turn it into another business.
Yep.
Why do you think you can't turn it off, so to speak? Why is your mind always working?
Because I feel like the work that I do is because I have no time to. There's not enough time for me to finish my work. And so I'm always constantly moving to get it done. I just feel like the work is like, by the time I'm 70 years old, I'm probably only a quarter way there. That's how I feel like, that's how much work that needs to be had. And this is me thinking that I have a whole, like thousands of people working with me, and I don't think we'll get there yet. So I feel like you have to keep working. It's not about feeling guilty or anything. I just feel like it's just like a task, like an email. You got to get through your emails, and there's not enough time in the day to do that. It's kind of sad sometimes, right? It sounds sad to still people. I think it does, because you know why? Because some people think like, you should be enjoying life, Khoa. You should be, but I do enjoy the work. I do. I don't like doing spreadsheets or anything like that, but I like the process of getting there. And so that is my vacation in some ways. And so I'm not that type of guy that would sit on the beach and relax. And that's, to me, killing time.
Well, some people get bored with things easily. So I think some people are their best selves. Yeah. Whether it's on a film set or planning a business or something. So you just have to, know what moves you. And vacations, they're expensive. Sometimes they're exhausting. Travel plans, all that. If you enjoy what you do, Yeah, that's on
All
you.
the
That's
best for
great.
you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. How can creativity help individuals and businesses generate new ideas or products that can lead them to financial success? Or is financial success not really the ultimate goal?
Yeah, financial success is certainly not the ultimate goal. Financial success is the measurement for financials is just your measurement of success. There's a complete difference on that. I look at it this way. It's like Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek said it best on this one. He says, think of your car as your business, and think of money as the gas. You don't go buy the car for the gas, but you need the gas to get you from point A to point B. You buy the car to get you from point A to point B. I look at business the same way. I look at it as like, I got a business and I built these verticals, these other businesses, so I get from point A to point B. I need money to run it so I can get there. But the goal was never to buy the gas.
Can you be creative but never become financially successful?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, you could be creative in the basement all day, and live with your parents all day, and say it's look, mom, you could be creative all day, and not be financially successful. Sure. Do you want that?
Do you think it's wise for people to start a business and put money on a credit card?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It depends on who you are. If you're the person that has complete clarity around your business and you know for certain that you need this specific equipment or your specific thing that's going to move that business forward, and the cost is something that you could pay back, then yeah, put it on the credit card and just do it. Get into a little debt. But if you're not clear and you don't have a clear pattern, there's a risk to, everything's a risk, but there's a high risk that you're not going to be able to pay that back, then no. Figure out another solution than to use money to be this problem solver.
Okay, the same applies then to an independent film. Should someone put equipment, hard drives, things like that on a credit card?
I would say depends, because if you're a filmmaker and you're certain that this is going to be your career, then I would say even that. I mean, for films, not really. I mean, depends on what you're looking to do. Depends what you're looking to do, right? Are you trying to get yourself into Netflix or AMC or theaters, or what are you trying to do? Are you just trying to experiment in making movies? If you're testing, then no, right? If you're then borrow someone else's equipment and do it, right? And let work bounce off of somebody else. But if you're trying to make this your career and you're trying to say, I want to be the cinematographer or wherever it is, right? You don't have to be the director, wherever it is. Then you got your phone to start that, But if you want to build a career and then you want to, be a part of a crew and say that I want to be hired with my equipment too, then buy the equipment, so then those jobs are going to pay it back. That's a business decision. So I think it depends on where you're at with things. Hope that makes sense.
Did Walt Before Mickey find you, or you found it?
Walt Before Mickey found me. But you could argue, because I positioned myself to be found. So, I would say I would position myself to be found, but Walt Before Mickey found me.
What are you doing to cause projects to find you?
Oh, that's a good one. What I always do every single day, what I work towards, is building value. The more value you bring to the world in solving problems, and in my case, solving entertainment issues, from distribution to funding and fundraising stuff, that's how I have projects find me. And people find you. Projects don't find you. People find you that has projects, and then you got to put it out there. And so that's where it's, once you have the project, then you got to go into the networking world and tell people what you're doing, and that's how I do that. So I don't look for projects at all. This is what we call inbound marketing, right? This is inbound branding. It's about making sure that you put yourself out in the world that people could trust you. Once they trust you and they say, oh, what are you working on? I'm working on this. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Why are you doing that? I get to explain that. Oh, that's cool. Guess what? I have a friend that blah, 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 blah. That's how these projects find you.
When you took on Walt before Mickey, I know you said the project found you. What were the biggest lessons about being a filmmaker that project taught you? Not maybe just the finished product, but the actual experience.
That story is not the king. Budget is the king. I know you don't hear that often at all. Budget is the king in independent filmmaking. Reason is because you compromise your story in order to make the day happen. I'll give you an example. So my AD is always on me for Khoa, you got 15 minutes here, you got 30 minutes here. Can you get this done? Da 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 da. I feel like my AD is against me usually, but I know he's trying to just move the production forward. And so I built a workflow where actors only get max of 3 takes. And I built the workflow where we get to do 50 plus setups a day. Insanely setups. And so there was a situation where it's, okay, look, I want this, you didn't perform it that well, but we're gonna have to take it. Because if we don't do the next scene, there's no story to have. So I learned that you have to be extremely efficient. You got to compromise your story in order to make the day. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Walt Before Mickey was done in 15 days. For a period piece that had 80 people on set with star actors. I couldn't get a wide shot. There's no budget for that. I couldn't even I get one picture car in there, and I get like max of 10 extras? That's why that was given to me. So you do your best, you want to tell the best story, but you can't tell the best story. It's never gonna be ideal. So as an independent filmmaker, you have to be able to compromise and understand that budget is the king. Your story is not the king. And you're gonna have to figure out how to tell a great story with that budget. And I realized that in those conditions, you do that really well, you finish the story, and get good at that, you're gonna get a lot of opportunities, because producers are business people and they want to know that their cash is in good usage. If you don't finish the story, you're not getting another job with those type of producers too. And those investors, if you can't sell the movie, they're not investing to the film again. So what the producers did right at Walt Before Mickey was they knew how to sell the movie, and they knew how to entice the investors. So those same investors reinvested back into another movie again, and it gave up more opportunities out there. And they did 8 to 10 new films afterwards. So by understanding that budget is the king and being efficient with it, and to be able to tell a great story with the budgets that you have, do that really well, and then you're able to sustain yourself in that business.
And you came on, as we've talked about earlier in our interview today, as second director. There was already another director, and then you came on, and so you made that decision, you said, to cut the wide shots. You reverse engineered it. You did something. Yeah.
So I came in as a second director, as the primary director, because I only got fired, and I did everything else untraditional. Meaning my storyboards was using regular pictures, photographs, laying them on the wall, no stick, I don't know, not even that, and just imagining all my shots. And then what ended up happening was that I stopped because the script was changing every day, right? Because the producers and writers just kept changing the story every single day. That creates a snowball effect across with all the crew members. Feel bad for the makeup people too. And so what I did was I just stopped looking ahead. So I always, when I wake up in the morning, on set 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm building out all my shots right then and there. That's it. So it's like every day is a new blank slate. So where's the cameras gonna be at, Khoa? I'm figuring that out right now, And then when I learned how to do that, it was quite simple as far as because that was the daily routine. I said, it's like when you ask, so what part of the script changed today? Think about it. I mean, it's ludicrous, right? But that's the conditions you're working with. Most people would complain, which is the reason why the other director got fired too, right? And so you're working with a budget that is limited. You're working within the confines of the producer's world. And if you want to play in that world, you better play nicely. If not, then don't work in that world, right? And for me, my intention was that positioning. My intention was that I'm going to get this film done, and I am going to work my best to work in their world and do the best with whatever limitation I have and tell the best story I can. And so I learned tremendously that is the game. And you do that part right, and it might not be the most joyful experience. This is where you work towards raising your own funds and doing your own thing. But when you work with someone else's budget, that's a different story.
Well, you knew that it was not going to be easy, as we talked about previously.
No.
So you kind of rose to the challenge. And as we've discussed, it sounds like you love challenges.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, I'll give you an example. Like this is good tips for the filmmakers. The situation was my AD said, Khoa, you got 30 minutes in the scene. You got 8 actors that you have to get covered. You got Walt Disney coming out, and you got 30 minutes to cover everybody. How you want to do this? Because you don't make this part, and this is a really important shot. I says, all right. So I asked my DP to lay down the tracks. I said, you're gonna hunt, and we're gonna do this in one cut. No, we're gonna stop the cut. Second camera is gonna stay on Walt Disney. Just stay on the whole entire time. So ready and action tracks the camera, gets the actor. Hey, can you say the line twice? Done. And then move on to the next one. I didn't even know what the order was. Who's saying the next line? They would say the next line. All right, camera catches up, capture the line, and we were done in 30 minutes. It's it's actually one of the bigger scenes in the movie too. And it's I think if I thought of it the traditional way, you cut, slate, every single thing like that. Oh yeah, that movie that scene wouldn't even happen. That would have taken hours to finish. So my mindset is that my back's against the wall. You gave me 30 minutes. Figure out how to finish the scene with 8 actors in there.
At the end of the day, was it all worth it? You worked hard to say, I'll take this on.
It was very worth it for me. Because not just for me, I got the deal to do the post-production, editing, coloring, deliverables, everything. I also gave the opportunity for the editors to work on it. And I also communicated to my whole entire team, this is what you guys worked for, which is the reason why my team has been working with me for 10 years now. So they don't work just to have a job. They work to something, they work for the company because we're trying to build a future. And that's a goal, that's a universal goal for us.
For Bezos' movie, when did Jeff Bezos approach you to make the film?
Jeff Bezos didn't approach me. Armando Gutierrez approached me. He's the producer for Walk Before Mickey. We had a falling out in the middle of the years because I had I'm an infant when it came to business, and we were immature. That was like 10 years ago, and so we had a falling out, and then we rectified a couple of years before that, and then I was referring him some business, and he goes, "Glad you called, man. I have an opportunity for you." And he goes, "You want to do something with Jeff Bezos?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Obviously,
Okay.
because, and I said, yeah. So read the script, hated it, and I asked for tweaks, and they brought on other writers to tweak it. Still didn't like the script too much, but we're running out of time because they wanted to lock down production. That's why I'm saying story's not king. Timing was that, and then, but it was enough to say, okay, we could move this thing forward, and it would be in a good place for him to make a sell.
And the script is an adaptation of a book, Zero to Hero?
Yes, it was a adaptation, exactly.
Okay. Why did you hate the script?
Because the initial script had no conflicts, like zero. It was like a education movie. You know what I'm saying? I was like, who are you fighting again? Who's the villain? I mean, literally, there was. I mean, I never read a script that was no villain before, so that was what it was. And so my method was, this is good. This is something untraditional that I do with other things. So I take all biopic picks or anything that's comparable, and I would go every 5 minutes and grade them. Because most of the films have very similar structures to each one, and I would grade them side by side. And I would say that Bezos had like more C's and D's compared to all these other movies. And I would try to get it to at least a B somewhere, or a C plus. I can only do so much because I'm not paying for the writer. They are. But that's what happened. And once we got to a place where, okay, everyone says thumbs up on it, we were able to move forward with the script. And that's how I got and it says, because of that, I integrated myself into that portion of it. And it's like, yeah, you want the gig, Khoa, go take the gig.
And at what time frame in Jeff Bezos' life and career does this movie start?
1994, when that was like the starting of the internet, really. Like it was like still coming up.
So AOL and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it. What is internet? What's
Sure.
the @ symbol mean? That's at that time.
Right. My early forays on it were buying books on Amazon. So
That's
that's how we got our feet wet. So why did you say yes to the project?
I haven't made a narrative film since Walt, because I did 2 documentaries before that, and I was trying to make a movie every other year, which I did end up doing, but 2 of them were docs. And I felt like Jeff Bezos. I've been approached other feature film projects, but with Bezos, I think everyone knew that it's going to get sold, and that's important. You don't want to waste your time making a project that will ever see the light of day. Knowing Armando, he's a salesman. He knows how to make it happen. Whether it hits Netflix or not, I just know it's going to get sold. And lo and behold, put it on the market, and within about 30 days, it got sold. International distribution.
You don't have to answer this, but why aren't you the producer on Bezos?
He asked me to, but I said no. Because I just don't like to invest my money into someone else's project anymore. Nothing against the producers. I just don't trust the third parties that he might be handling with. You know what I'm saying? And there's a payment friction. This is what we're trying to solve. If we put this blood, sweat, and tears, I invested money into it, whatever it is, and then they get to pick a distributor, but then I will be paid by the production company on the split. I mean, it's the reason why most people don't get paid, because there's a fallout somewhere, right? There's a friction somewhere, and I don't know if we want to get into that, but it gets very, very dicey when it comes to for me, it gets very dicey for me to try to trust a project who I have no idea I'm doing business with.
What are your thoughts on filmmakers having a piece of ownership in the films that they make?
It depends on what type of filmmakers they are. You're talking about directors that are they being paid on salary? Are they getting paid already? Or are they working on this project for peanuts and putting their all into this film? For those, they should own equity. They should own ownership. For those that are getting paid pretty well for the film, then more like work for hire, they got no risk on them, they shouldn't be having any ownership on it. You know, I don't think that if you're not, I look at value value is very important. If you are coming on board and being hired for that job that you're supposed to do, why should you have ownership of the project? If you come on board with doing things that's more than you're asked to do, going above and beyond, bringing more value than you're getting paid for, then you deserve ownership. That's how I look at it.
What other biopics did you use as a measure? You said you looked at other biopics.
Yeah, I looked at the founder, Steve Jobs, and the founder, Steve Jobs, and I forgot the other one. But those are the comparable ones.
Yeah, The Founder was a great movie too.
It was.
Yeah, it didn't really get a lot of, didn't really see it come out too many places, but.
But now it's like one of the hottest streaming ones on Netflix.
Oh, is it? Okay,
It is,
yeah.
yeah.
I just remember back when it came out, it kind of seemed like it fizzled a little, but it's really well done. Did you do any research into Jeff Bezos' story on your own, or you
I did.
just stuck with the book?
Well,
and the adaptation?
I did my best on the interviews, or whatever's on the internet, and then I asked the production and the writers about, what their story, about Bezos. That's all I did, really, because it's based on this. It's still on the script. It's still contingent on the script. That and for me, I have to be able to understanding Bezos from an entrepreneur. That was easy for me because I'm an entrepreneur. So in my opinion, like communicating with the actor who is the executive producer as well, he's an entrepreneur as well. So that makes it easy to communicate because hey, Armando, you know what this is going to be about. He's raising money, da 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 da. I got it, Khoa. I got it. So it's like improv. So it's like it's an entrepreneurship movie at the end of the day. With and Jeff has to be in it. But for me, the mindset of that movie was about how you could take a person that risked his entire career to build a company that he believed was going to change the world for the better, at least for the better, quote unquote, right? I don't know that's for the better to some people, but I looked at it like he innovated the world, right? Changed it, and to me that was the remarkable part. It wasn't Jeff Bezos. He was just the name in there, but the fact that he took a risk that he took a risk that most people question themselves, should they step out of the job and do what they want to do. That's the lesson learned in this movie.
Sure. I don't even think they knew that they were going to Seattle until
They had no idea.
Till what, the moving truck showed up or
That's
something
right.
around that
That's
time,
exactly
right?
right. That's exactly right.
Right, yeah. And he had a lucrative job and people told him, "What are you doing? Why do
Why would you do it? It sounds like your parents. My parents would say the same thing. You have a lucrative job. Why are you gonna quit? And it goes back to the morals of the story again. It's even my own thing. It's like it's more to life than making money. It's if you think you have the capability to make an impact, then go and do it. Go and tackle the world and give it a shot. You can always get a job later. Right? It's scary, but I think it's nobody wants to be put on the streets and nobody wants to see themselves being disappointed. I get it. But do you think that's more important than regretting not doing something that you could possibly have done really well with?
What's the blueprint for a great story?
I believe that a great story makes you feel inspired to do something great at the end of the movie, depending on the genre. You know, you're not gonna do it with a horror film, but maybe the horror film inspires you to do a horror film, right? But it needs to emotionally engage with you. That's the blueprint for it. I don't think there should be rules around making a movie, but I feel like you need to have the right people, the right team, and the right mindset to allow yourself to have that opportunity to tell the best story you can tell within your limitations. So, blueprint. Make it as emotional and impactful you can when the movie's over. I'm surprised that when I did Walk Before Mickey and the Bezos movie, and that I had good feedback out of it. I also know there's bad feedback out of it, right? Just like any other movie too. But one moment I came was when it was in the theaters in Disney, was that a family would come out in tears. And they asked me, "Are you the director of it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why are you in tears?" I said, "Sorry." And they said, "Khoa, my family is going through a lot of things, and it's this simple concept of not giving up actually really matters. And it reminded me to not give up on my own family and blah, blah, blah." And just recently, like I was at a job last year in Disney. He said, I thought I stole something, and it was a security guard that came up to me and says, "Hey, are you the one that did the Disney film?" I said it wasn't a Disney film, but it's the Walk Before Mickey, about Disney. And he goes, I want to let you know I've always wanted to meet you. And I was like, "Oh, that's nice of you." But you know what? It validates to me that we did something right, And I don't think you're gonna know that in the beginning of it, but I do know that if you did kind of create that effect at the end, after the movie's over, that you did something right. And I don't know if that is a blueprint, but I do know that is a recipe to a success.
What's the Khoa way of telling a story?
I think for me, it's inspiration. It's my way of telling the story is leading, from a technical side of things, leading a team that's inspired to want to tell that story. And from a storytelling side of things, it's being in the mindset that is this moving the story forward to a place of change and to something that's inspiring. That's a short answer. I think that's a very simple approach, and that's why every single movie that I've done, everything's a biopic movie. They're all inspirational, supposedly.
Jose Feliciano.
Vanilla Ice, Walt, and Bezos. They're all in the biopics. It's like they kind of kept landing in my lap, and it's like, and I kept saying yes to taking those type of projects.
How do you know if a story is working?
When you don't yawn.
But you're up till 4 a.m. working. You might be tired.
I think it's not working when it's too predictable. I think that's like death to a film. Like I feel like if you could, it's these projects that I have are predictable projects, and I know that they're linear stories, and to me it is what it is, But for me personally, it doesn't work when I am bored with it. If I'm yawning at a line or something like that, I was like, oh my God, that's how I know it's not working. So I like to work on projects I like to work on something of a project that is unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen next.
Do you think though you become bored with it after you've seen like several cuts of it, or even then it stays fresh for you? If it's good, if it's compelling.
I think well, first, let's backtrack a little bit. If we're going to the editing world of it, assembly edits are like the worst nightmares for me, right? Like the first cuts are like the worst. Tweaking it, getting it to the point of that, it's actually really difficult for me. So I rely on my brain going to do a refresh somehow, playing a lot of video games, not looking at it. It's that, and then coming back to it. If I continue to yawn again at a certain portion of it, I know it's not working. You know, but again, you know, I had that quite a few times for my own films, many times for that, and there's no way you could fix it because there's no budget to fix that stuff.
What types of stories excite you the most?
Baseball stories, sports stories, and music stories.
So Moneyball,
Yes.
things like that?
Field of Dreams is my biggest movie. Field of Dreams.
What about music stories?
I would say, like, you know, Amadeus was a good one for me. You know, there's not many of them, but I would say like the Whitney Houston one is a really good one. Ray.
Sure, okay. 8 Mile?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where did you watch Field of Dreams for the first time?
I watched that in my parents' bedroom on VCR.
And when the credits were rolling, what did it inspire you to do?
No, you know what? I'm not good with names. You know, so I just knew that I wanted to. I go outside with my glove and I just play catch by myself. I didn't have people to play catch with, so I would just throw the ball against the wall. But that's what inspired me to do that stuff, just to play games, just to play the baseball game.
But you remember it today as one of...
Yeah, you know why? Because it's a movie that inspired me to want to do something in my life, and that was baseball. You know, it's like, you know, you put the glove in your face, they described how the grass smells and everything, and it's like, oh my God, it's that, you know? You know what I mean? My dad wasn't around so much because he worked a lot. But when he was around, I remember those things. So when you see that between father and son type of thing, I never really played catch with my dad, but being to have that idea that I could have done that or doing that or wish to have that is memorable for me, you know, and that to me is very inspiring.
And what about Moneyball? How does that inspire you?
You know what? I love the art of negotiations, and that was how they traded players. I like the dynamics. To me, what that made me feel was that a single person changed the whole entire game. You know, like they weren't using stats back then. Moneyball, right? You're taking one of the worst teams in baseball and turn them into, you know, like the chances of them to make the playoffs was like almost was slim to none. They use stats and they use a new idea and they use a new concept, and I love that innovation. So to me, that was memorable for me, and it relates to my entrepreneurship world. It reminds me, my God, a single person can change the whole entire game. That's what it is.
What have your movies taught you about stories?
Well, the movies I've done, when it comes to storytelling, it's, you know, it's worth doing it, no matter what the situation is. You know, it gets, if you have a chance to touch someone's heart, like one person at a time, and do your story, that, you know, for me, do my stories, then it was all worth it. I fall in love with it all the time. Every time I make a movie, you know, it's like entrepreneurship and all that type of stuff. There's nothing that goes you can't even compare it to it, the feeling of it when it comes to storytelling. I'm not the best filmmaker, I know that, you know, but I want to strive to become a really good filmmaker and be able to touch the world somehow, you know, and I feel like the opportunities are there to do that. But I felt like as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you're so limited on the restrictions that are put in place. And that annoys me like crazy. And I feel like I want story to be king. I don't want budget to be king. And I want to be in a place that, you know, we don't have to worry about the budget and that we could take our time, be artful, and tell that story. I was sitting next to Gloria Estefan because, you know, Emilia Estefan was in the Bezos movie. And Gloria goes, so how's it, you know, what was it like to do this? You know, did you have fun? I said, Gloria, it was work. It was, you know, I said, I wish I was actually an artist on the movie. It says, she laughed. I said, you know, I said, why? It goes, because I get to have 2 to 3 takes with these actors. I don't get that many takes with them before I had to make these setups. I'm doing 36 to 45 setups a day, like wall to wall. There's no B units, and you're just constantly working and jamming it in. And you know, you want to be artful, you want to tell this great story, and that you it's so hard to do it because you're in these restrictions. And so, filmmaking for me is these low budget projects that I get to do, you know, tells me that there's so much more to be had when you get there. But it's so rare to get those opportunities. So is it worth it? Absolutely yes. And that's what it taught me, is that, you know, you get to still, even no matter what kind of budget it is, you get to still have an opportunity to touch someone's heart. And that's worth the effort.
You say the rough cut is just a really difficult time for you to either be sitting in the edit bay or the editor. How many cuts in do you start to see the story and relax a little bit and go, this is good, I like this?
The third edit, usually, my experience. So the editor, the Bezos, he was the original Rocky editor, you know, and Edward Scissorhands and stuff. So they were really good. So they knew how to get their first cuts in, and they were okay, and they put it in a decent place in the beginning. But me being able to work with inexperienced editors, usually that's like a mess, and it takes about a good 3rd to 4th edit before it gets there, you know.
But Bezos was different.
Bezos was different because you're working with people that's, you know, that they're very successful in the business already.